Bob Lachance, a young 47, looking a young 47, and playing some pro hockey and doing a ton of real estate. Has an amazing business, REVA Global. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you can see it almost looks like we're matching logos here with the InvestorFuse and the REVA Global. And we got connected in person. I was just telling John, our CEO, before we hopped on this meeting, I was like, yeah, I just happened to be sitting next to Bob at the mastermind event that we were in Tampa. And he asked how the event was. I'm like, man, have good connections. And we probably would not be doing this interview if it wasn't for being in a mastermind together. So very grateful for that and grateful for having you on the show and your time today, man.
Yeah, appreciate having me, man. That was a phenomenal event. And I know, a lot of incredible people at the family mastermind down in Florida. So that was a really, really cool event.
Absolutely. Well, dude, I would love to hear a snapshot for the listeners on everything that you have going on in your, across businesses.
Cool. I don't know, where do I start? I could start. I got a virtual assistant company like we talked about. I think as of today, and I'm very, since obviously you and I sat together, I'm pretty open and transparent about, how numbers are. I think we're at about 560 and growing virtual assistants right now. We just closed on and that's on the virtual assistant side. As you said, I run a couple different businesses, and on the real estate side, we just closed on our 110th property this week. And this is in 2021. So we're working both sides of the business. And that's just a little bit about, obviously there's a backstory to how I started all those, but that's just a little bit of what I'm doing today. I was also running a coaching program that I just stopped doing about 8-9 months ago as well.
Okay.
So now it's just focused on these two companies.
Good. Yeah. And like we were talking before we started rolling, just the principle being focused on one or maybe two things and really going deep on that. And I think a majority of the conversation, Bob, will be how people can utilize virtual assistants, delegate to virtual assistants to free themselves up, higher level activities. I'm sure you wouldn't be able to take just an hour or two out of your day here randomly if you didn't have those systems and all those VAs in place. Super, super impressive. And on our side, we definitely know a lot of people that have used Bob's service and VAs that are super happy and they're rocking and rolling with them. So that's going to be a majority of the conversation. Before we get into the day-to-day and how you're actually using your own REVA Global VAs in the real estate business and everything, I'd love to hear, how are you 47 years old right now and did you think you were going to have a company that sourced virtual assistants? I know that craze kind of happened after the Tim Ferriss book, 4-Hour Workweek. That was one when I first started reading wholesaling. But in general, would love to hear how you got started in real estate and how you get started with your virtual assistant staffing company, essentially.
It was funny. I was sitting, I have 3 kids, and I was sitting at dinner with my kids and my wife, and we're just saying, you know what? When I was back in Europe playing hockey, sitting in a locker room, I never, ever would have thought I would own a virtual assistant company and my VAs being out of the Philippines going back and forth. Trust me, because you don't learn much when you're sitting in a hockey locker room. So anyone out there that's in athletics, typically you're not talking about flipping houses when you're sitting in a locker room. But a little bit about how I got started. Actually, one of the reasons why I actually jumped into real estate is because I left school 2 classes short of getting my degree. So I could have gotten a 4-year college degree at Boston University, but I was offered a contract by St. Louis Blues, which is pretty cool. Back in the day, I'm going back now. This is 1996. So they offered me a $110,000 signing bonus, which is pretty cool, right? You're a young kid. You're like, all right, here,
definitely.
I'll give you an option. I'm going to give you $110,000 and take the money today and start playing, or you're gonna have to wait till next year and potentially that contract's not going to be there and you could finish school. What are you going to do as a young kid?
I'll gladly take that 6-figure signing bonus.
Gladly take the money. And that's what I did with the thought process of, hey, you could always go back to school, right? Any young kid's going to say, hey, go back to school. Well, fast forward how many years ago? Never went back to school. So the reason why I'm sitting here today is because I didn't go back to school. I know that's kind of a mixed message sometimes that I tell my kids saying, hey, you should go to school, you can do this. But I value education today more than I did back then. What I was taught in school, I went to school for sociology. I didn't even know what that was when I was going to school, right? You just go to school. Someone says, hey, all the hockey players, hey, you got to get a sociology degree because it's the easiest degree. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to take that path, right? Of course, now I would love to go back and take business courses, but that's besides the point. Anyway, so I got offered the contract. So I played 2 years for St. Louis Blues, played in their minor league team. It's like AAA for baseball, right? Right underneath the NHL. And then I played 2 more years here in the United States, and then 4 years in Europe, Italy, Germany, Switzerland. So it was a
Amazing.
pretty good run. And then I decided though, towards the end of my career, you could tell, you could tell your career is coming to an end. Anyone that played sports, even high school sports, when you're hitting a level, you're not going to go to the NHL, you're not going to do this. So you're really just buying time. I had a lot of my buddies working at banks, working in the financial industry that already had families, all that kind of good stuff. I was in Europe. My wife was home. I had my first kid. So I decided, I gotta jump in the real world. So started reading a couple books, and a lot of them were all on real estate. Like everybody else, probably 99% of your guests read Rich Dad Poor Dad, so that helped you kind of steer around that angle. And then I also bought a course. One of the main reasons why I jumped into real estate, a gentleman by the name of David Wisnett, who's an attorney, investor. It was all about real estate, but all about really nothing in particular. So he taught how to farm areas, which means get in the car and drive around neighborhoods and see what properties are beat up, etc. So one of the good things about myself is I do like taking action. I am a hard worker. I may jump before I actually learn what to do, right? So it's I don't know how they say it, ready, set, aim, or whatever.
Ready, fire, aim. Vanilla Ice had a great quote. Out of all the presenters in Tampa Mastermind that we were at, I took the most just notes on one-liners, he said, and I've been saying that to your point exactly. He goes, man, in life, you have to get in line at the tattoo shop before you know the exact tattoo that you're going to get. Yep. Like you can have an idea of it, but you just got to get in line. And then when you're up there, you'll figure it out.
Dude, he was phenomenal. This is actually just if anybody that's listening to this can watch any presenter in the world, man, you got to watch him present, man. He is phenomenal, right?
He was.
Oh,
he's absolutely phenomenal.
And he's got incredible business takeaways, and there's a lot of things that he's learned, and he's an incredible business owner too. So anyway, that's just besides the point.
We gotta get him some REVA Global VAs, man, so he can do more speaking engagements. What he loves to do.
I mean, he's doing $20+ million rehabs, man. He definitely needs some help, right?
Yeah.
So where were we? We were talking
taking
about
massive action, the farming lessons, right. Post Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yep. Yeah. So farming areas. So I got in the car when I first started, and I started making offers. I knew nothing. I had a little money put away for my hockey career, but I didn't have contractors. I didn't have money in the bank. But after reading this book, I was a rehabber. So I'm like, shit. You know what? Might as well be a rehabber. Why not? So I made an offer on a property. It was listed at 185, vacant property. I offered 135. They accepted it. First thought, I'm like, what do I do now? I didn't have a team built. I didn't understand any of that stuff, but I figured it out. Found money, found contractors, rehabbed it within a month, listed it, made $32,000 in 2 months. Fantastic, right? It was great. But I also took a step back and I realized that I had zero systems. I didn't know what systems were, man. I came from the hockey locker room and I just jumped into real estate because there were 0 barriers of entry, right? And I don't know. Today was a lot different than it was, back in 2004. This is all in 2004, right? We have phenomenal coaching programs out there. We have phenomenal stuff online that you could get and be self-educated and accountability partners, all that kind of good stuff. But back then we really didn't have that. So I did learn about real estate investment groups. So I joined a real estate investment group, and I saw a speaker speak on pre-foreclosure short sales. So I'm like, all right, now at this time, I'm buying anything. If someone's going to sell me anything, I'm buying any type of education. So I bought a course, Jeff Collar, on short sales. And then all of a sudden now, I'm not a rehabber anymore. I'm a short sale investor because, shiny object syndrome back then, I was going to do anything. So anyway, the next meeting, I looked around the room, and I think this gentleman. I asked every single person, who's the top person in Connecticut that does short sales? And they all pointed at Pat Precourt. So I went up to Pat. I'm like, Pat, dude, you got no idea who I am. I'm not asking for a penny, but do you have any open positions in your organization? He goes, yep, absolutely. We actually have a door knocking position open. I'm like, no idea what that means or what I have to do every day, but I'm in. Shook his hand, just like you. About a year later, we're business partners. So
amazing. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
yeah. So this is now 2004, 2005, 2000, mid 2005. We did a lot of short sales. So Pat and I probably did over 1,000 short sales together. We actually hooked up with a company down in Florida, a short sale company, and we ran the whole back end of their coaching program. And then 2007, Fortune Builders came to us, our buddies, Dan, Paul, and Conrad, and said, hey, we're starting this company. Because what they were doing is they created a wholesale course and a rehab course, and they started going from REIA to REIA group to REIA group, and they had a database was growing. So the next step, typically with a lot of different companies, saying, hey, let's start a coaching program. So they're right in our backyard. We're flipping properties with each other, doing short sales for them, wholesaling them properties, all that kind of good stuff. So they came to us and said, hey, Bob and Pat, you guys want to run the back end of our coaching program? Let's partner. Absolutely. So we helped grow that company from ground up. And then they moved from Connecticut to California. So that was a company that worked with for years upon years that just stopped working with right around in the middle of COVID. So that was kind of a little bit of the trajectory there. All the while I was flipping properties, lending money, wholesaling, buying syndications, all that good stuff. And then in 2013, I was introduced to what an actual virtual assistant is. I mean, I didn't know anything about what a virtual assistant is. And then the light bulb went on right there. And I said, you know what? There's a business model there. I got a business. And the partner I had back in the day, he was doing actually a presentation on how to use virtual assistants. And comes off stage. I'm like, dude, we got a business. And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, I got a handle of vodka in my room. I got a 12 pack. I think it was a case or some crap like that. And mapped out a business model, and we tested it for 2 years. It worked. And then you always have to test you guys do the same thing, and what you guys have to offer, because you guys have an incredible service and product out there as well. So you guys do the same thing. You got to test it and then release it. So tested it for 2 years, and then fast forward today, I own the company myself right now. Or with my wife, I should say. We're at, like I said, 500 plus members, and we also built up my real estate investing company as well through the years. So I know that's a long, drawn out story. So I apologize if I was, kind of.
No, that's good, man. It's good to get all that out. Like I told you before, man, that's the best answers. I'm curious, really quick, what led you towards the confidence that this is a business, kind of like a personal operating system question? Was it you saw so many systems and processes that were repeatable from doing the back end stuff with Fortune Builders?
Yep.
Was it some of the presentation that your buddy did on stage where you grabbed them? What kind of led you to like the confidence in like, this is an actual business model?
Yeah, it's funny. So what I was looking for years, this is going back to 2007. I've always been someone who gives before they ask, right? Kind of like when I joined Pat. I'll give you a bunch of stuff. I'm very open in how I speak. And some students that we had, and not only in my own business, but students that come to all different coaching programs, they're either working part-time, full-time, or have their dream of doing real estate, but there's a limited amount of time. So I was always looking for a product or service out there that would give people time back, right? And there's not too many. And then all of a sudden 2013 comes up, and I learned what a virtual assistant is. I'm like, I think there's something here. And then when I saw that presentation, I'm like, all right, let me take, I help build coaching programs in the back end. So I understand systems, processes, building, it's a lot of what we do, it's systems, processes, and it's people, right? Everything we do is a people business. Dealing with people is not easy. I think business is easy. People are hard. So if you can master all that and put it together, you could create something that's very, very powerful for anybody. So that's what I did. So that was the aha moment, saying, all right, if I could put all of the systems and processes, and I know what I'm doing in my own business. So I'm saying, all right, if I could be successful in my own business doing these tasks and outsource stuff to virtual assistants, I know it's going to work for everybody else. I live in Connecticut. I live in Connecticut. It's a very difficult market. The people are very different than other parts of the country. I mean, you know that, right? If you're investing in different parts of the country, individuals are different in different areas. And Northeast is a little tougher. So I know if it works here, it's most likely going to work all over the country. So that was one of the other aha moments that, hey, you know what? If it's working here, I know at a 98%, I never go 100%, 98% chance it'll work everywhere.
Well, I think that's very fair to say with the market analysis as kind of a litmus test for anywhere else in the country, or I guess world. Now that people are doing stuff virtually all over the world, investing in the United States, that it would work. What were the first 2 years, kind of that testing phase? What kind of things were you looking to outsource? What was that kind of like on ramping into launching into the public? And it's crazy, you've been doing this almost a decade now. Like you said, sitting in the hockey locker room,
Yeah.
looking at 47 years old, you probably did not imagine you'd be doing this.
Not at all. Not at all. It's funny looking back. So technology is a lot different now than it was before, right? So now, if I go back then, virtual assistants were, if you look at wholesale, and we talked a little bit of wholesaling before, if you don't have a buyer's list, you don't have you can't even start wholesaling, right? And they didn't have technology back end. So follow me here. So my virtual assistants, I had focused first on building a buyer's list, going to Craigslist, going to Zillow, going to all these on Google, building lists different ways. So that's what we focused on at the beginning. That was number one on the wholesaling side. Number two, it has to do with marketing. You need to drive leads in your business, right? Again, there's technology now that can help do all of that, but before you had to do all of that manually. So we focused mostly on those two things and branding as well. So it's come full circle, a lot easier now, but those were the main things that we actually focused on real estate investors doing. Also, there are some side things we did. We worked with a lot of property managers that hired a bunch of our VAs to handle, lease ups. We called it mainline when tenants or owners would call in and say, hey, my toilet's backed up, et cetera, et cetera. So we helped create some standard operating procedures behind the scenes as well, to where our virtual assistants knew what to do and how to actually source out those calls, whether it's to maintenance or whoever it is. So we did a lot of that as well. And then we'll go along the lines, how a lot of it has evolved and changed. Now we train virtual assistants on, let's say, your platform. It's a lot easier, right? Because a lot of stuff that we do today is a little bit different. A lot of what we're doing today, and I could go over, how I use virtual assistants in my own business as well.
Definitely.
You want to go over that after, but there's a lot of data providers out there that have data, right? And what happens is when you have data, you still need phone numbers or contact information with that data, right? And I know you guys offer this too, so we'll use you guys as a perfect example, right? You get the list, non-owner occupied, let's just say. You get them skip traced. Well, then you have those numbers. What are you going to do with those numbers? I know for me personally, when I started real estate, I would door knock. I would go home, go on 411.com to try to find their phone numbers, then I would call them. I ain't doing that anymore, right? Because that is tiring. That'll beat you up. So nowadays, probably majority of the investors are doing some sort of cold calling, some sort of text messaging, some sort of outreach. We'll call it seller outreach, right? And there's a lot of different systems and processes out there. And that is very tiring if you are doing that yourself. I know for me, I'd get burnt out if I kept doing that every single day, because as a business owner, you can't get stuck into those mundane tasks every single day, because our job is to continue to grow that business, whether it's finding private money, whether it's, bringing on more buyers or going to lunch with this person. Like, our job is to build our businesses, right? If we're stuck in our business and doing those tasks, you're only going to grow, you're going to be very limited on what you can and can't do. So anyway, those are some of the tasks just out there of what has changed throughout the industry, or throughout my company.
Yeah, great give there. And I know we're talking about your business. No two businesses are exactly the same, but the principles as far as finding out what not only drains your energy, but isn't the highest revenue per hour activity that you could be doing is the exact same, whether it's Bob's business, whether it's, anybody's business who's listening to this. So I'm curious, for somebody that's working with the VA company, or going to you for virtual assistance, what does that process kind of look like of understanding where a VA can fit into their process? And I'm assuming, speaking to you here thus far, maybe the first kind of area that you look to outsource is lead generation, marketing type stuff, if we're talking about a wholesaling direct seller business.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting. And so that's exactly how it answer. It depends on what niche you're focused in on, right? Because if you're focused in on, let's say real estate investor in general, let's say you do wholesaling, you do rehabbing, you do wholetailing, you do novations, whatever your exit strategy is, right? Or even you're an agent, because we have agent investors that actually work with us as well. If you're talking about lead generation, 100%. We have a lot of virtual assistants, and we actually train them on that type of lead generation because, again, I use the same, I train our virtual assistants out of the same scripts in our office, right? For my real estate office, I should say. So I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. So I take a lot of what I do in my real estate office and I put it into our training for our virtual assistants because they go through 3 weeks to a month of training. So the answer to your question is, on the wholesale side, we see a lot of our clients actually do that. They're cold calling. That's one set of it. But you have to realize, within our industry, and let's use, InvestorFuse as a perfect example, right? You could get a bunch of leads that are inside, right, InvestorFuse, inside your database, and they come in from cold calling, they come in from text messages, they come in from direct mail, they come in from PPC, whatever it is, they come in from there. But now your acquisition team has to connect with them and contact them. Well, what happens with a lot of investors is, before you know it, you have 1,000 leads in there, right? Or even 500 or 200, however many leads in it is in there. And a lot of times when you are the one doing acquisitions, you're calling all of them, right? But how many times are you going to call them? You're going to call them once, and then you're never going to call them again because all the other leads start piling on top of each other. And no matter what, even if you hire an acquisition person, they're doing the same thing. They just cherry pick low hanging fruit, et cetera, right? So now you have all of these leads in your database. Well, we have our virtual assistants go through all of those lists with text messages, cold calling, and if there's emails as well. So that's the follow-up process. That's gold. And what we do is we track how many calls, how many texts, how many emails that are sent, how many connects, and then how many transfers. So you could actually do the same, just take that same model, right, and create a spreadsheet. We could help you with that too, obviously, if you use one of our virtual assistants. We could help you create the end-of-day report that gets sent to you every day, so you know exactly what happens on a daily basis, which I think is extreme. Whether you use my company or not, I think you should definitely implement that, whether it's in-house or you're outsourcing it somewhere.
Yeah, amazing. Love it. And that one, I know I said that not everything could exactly reflect Bob's business, but anybody who's listening to this has a similar enough business where that makes sense, where it's 100% true, where lead managers or acquisitions are, the new leads are coming in. If you still have consistent marketing going on, and, it's a certain ratio for everybody. It's not going to be 500, 300, 200 leads for everybody that's just growing in their database, but it's a certain large ratio or large percentage of those leads that aren't getting touched more than 7 times, where you probably have some cool KPIs and statistics on follow-up, as do we, where most of the deals, at least for wholesalers, aren't going to be coming a few months down the line, and probably 6, 7 touches plus down the line, where, everybody says follow-up is where you make the money in this industry. And I'm sure a lot of sales industry. So this is a very high leverage 80-20 Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week type thing that you can outsource with Bob and his company.
Yeah. And as you said, I mean, you look at it, we literally just got a deal this week from a year ago because of what our virtual assistants are doing following up. I mean, a lot of people just throw those away. We don't. We look at that as that's a potential $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 lead in there, right? So it's important to always look at every single lead in your database as gold. And if you can't follow up on it, or your acquisition guys can't follow up on it, you got to get a virtual assistant. If you call them lead managers or whatever you call them, right? We'll just call them lead managers on this call, right? A virtual assistant lead manager. I would definitely highly recommend doing that because it takes one deal to pay for a virtual assistant for 2, 3, 4 years.
So true. Absolutely so true. And I mean, that any type of service providers, can kind of make that point. It's like similar to us. If you get a deal from follow-up, whatever you pay for a monthly or annual subscription kind of pays for itself multiple times over, it's so true.
Yep, exactly. And I think that's a great way to put it there, because a lot of people just look at it as, well, it's a cost. I look at it as an investment, right? It is. And one of the things that we all get caught up in this, right? You look at it saying, well, this is how much I'm investing this week in InvestorFuse, in, REVA Global, whatever it is. But a lot of individuals forget what happened last month. You just made $50,000 on those two together, as an example, right? But you forget it the week the month after. You're like, well, I haven't made anything. Well, you just paid for that particular those two services for 3 years ahead. So, hey, I always have to remind myself all the time to look at exactly what that return is over a long period of time, not just that 1 month. Every service out there, it takes a ramp up time. It doesn't matter what it is. Every product, there's a ramp up time. There's a training time. You got to get up and running, and you got to be. One of the things I've realized is, if you're going to do something, you have to have 2 feet in and really, really give it your attention to really make it work.
100%. So we have an idea with I would call it like a follow-up specialist, making sure that all the cold and old leads are just being peppered, and anything that has remote interest getting kicked over to acquisitions. We talk lead gen. What does it look like specifically with REVA Global for a company, maybe like a discovery or an onboarding type process, that ramp up period that you're talking about? What does that look like? And I know that we have those 2 areas, like the follow-up cold and old specialist and lead generation, but what does that process kind of look like, discovering where and how they can utilize your VAs?
Yeah, we have an admissions team. So as soon as if you sign up for a strategy session, as an example, so you'll sit with our admissions team and go over exactly what your business is, what tasks you're looking to outsource, and a little bit of your tools and all that kind of good stuff. So we have an intake form, and then that goes to our placements team. So our placements team. So what happens? Placements team is kind of like Match.com. Right. So once a sale goes to the placements team, where all of our virtual assistants that come out of training are then matched with the client. So when a little bit behind the scenes, so we have a recruiting and sourcing team over in the Philippines. So all my VAs are in the Philippines. Once they go through that process, then they go to our training team. And once they graduate from training, they do a predictive index. They also do disc profiling. And then they're given over to the placements team. So now the placements team will match up the virtual assistant skills that you need with, their PI, their resumes, their disc profiling. Because if you need someone that does bookkeeping, as an example, you don't want someone on the disc that's a high D and high I, which is more of a dominant salesperson type individual. You want more of, on the S and the C side, as an example. That's just obviously a kind of little bit example on that side of it. So once they go there, you find your match. You interview 3 different virtual assistants at different increments, 15-minute increments, as an example. As soon as you pick who you actually gel with and love, then you're going to go over to our operations team, and you're going to be matched with, we call them client service managers. So they manage the VA and client relationship. So you're never left by yourself. We kind of hold your hand along the process to make it very seamless. So that's a little bit what it looks like behind the scenes.
Very cool. And what's the best place for people listening to this live that they can click a link or search to kind of check out REVA Global while they're listening to the interview?
Yeah, check it out. It's right on actually right on our website. Just go to revaglobal.com. So it's REVA global.com, and there's a strategy session button right in the front.
Okay, sweet. I'll make sure to have that in the show notes. You guys can just click on that. Awesome stuff, man. It sounds like awesome process to work with you guys. Ton of experience. You're doing a ton of real estate business, practicing what you preach, using your virtual assistants. Is there any other area that you want to cover on the virtual assistant side, delegating, outsourcing, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, virtual assistants do anything. So our clients range from, using InvestorFuse, using different types of cold calling tools, if you will. So there's a lot of different things, all the way from, like I said, real estate agents that do transaction coordinating. We have property managers. We have Airbnb investors also that use our virtual assistants that do multiple tasks. We also have a med division side of it, where my wife actually runs that company, and they do prior authorizations, insurance verifications, things like that on the medical side, because that is just like everything else in this world. We look at hiring here in the United States. I don't know if you guys have realized, or if you guys have seen this. Hiring in the United States is tough. Getting people to
Mm-hmm.
go to work for some reason right now, it's tough, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why a lot of individuals now, a lot of business owners, whether it's medical, real estate, property management, whatever it is, are looking to outsource. I know COVID has played a big role in that, but it was happening before COVID, but now that a lot of stuff going on with minimum wage going up as well here in the United States, so it's really tough. This is off topic. I owned I just sold it. And and I said this, I actually was talking to somebody the other day. If anyone's looking into a business that you do not want to invest in, don't invest in buying a used appliance company. I will tell you that. That's just true disclosure, because that's a very, very difficult and a pain in the butt industry that doesn't really make any money. However, what I was getting at, I had a cleaner in that company, and we were paying him $12.50 an hour, and we couldn't get anybody that spoke, fantastic English to go apply for that job. So it's the same thing. If you're going
Mm-hmm.
to be building a business, it's going to be very difficult to hire anyone for $12, $13, $14 an hour here in the United States, as an example.
Mm-hmm.
So of college, college graduate quality. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Very cool, man. I mean, this is the guy to talk to for VAs. I mean, he's almost been in this specific industry niche for a decade. Plus, he's doing it in his business, and it's not just wholesaling. So I like that because in addition to wholesalers, which are mostly wholesalers, wholesalers, fix and flip, that are mainly listening to this show, I like the perspective that you get from working with agents and Airbnb, and you probably get some creative ideas, systems, and processes from seeing different angles of real estate as well that might be able to apply as helpful for wholesalers or someone listening to the show.
Yeah, we had, and this is before the foreclosure moratorium. That just actually kind of sparked an idea on what we were actually doing. This may be helpful for everybody. So on the pre-foreclosure side, I know more investors are starting to do more pre-foreclosure stuff, but we have
Mm-hmm.
a judicial website here in Connecticut, and we're going to be starting to implement this right now because we implemented it pre-COVID, and then all of a sudden the foreclosure moratorium hit, so we actually paused that. But we had a virtual assistant go into our judicial website, pull all of the pre-foreclosure cases that were going on. And then every single week, what they do is we track them to see who had a sale date set. Because we're in a long state. We're in Connecticut. It takes forever sometimes for people to go through foreclosure. So now we have them track it every single week, and then we skip trace that number, and now we have them call. You're interested in
Nice.
selling. You're interested in selling. So that's just a little niche. Anyone could do that. Use that. Use that same system out there. We're going to be implementing it very, very shortly because we put it on pause that we had prior to COVID. So it's pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool. That's an idea that maybe people could run with.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, that's also just kind of an operating system that's good to have, of just
Mhm.
being able to be creative when you can adapt to different things that come to you. Because I mean, a year from now, who knows what's going to be going on with COVID, the real estate market, cryptocurrency, blockchain, anything like that. So it's a process of always reflecting, having conversations, which is why it's good to free yourself up so you can talk to high level people, people in your network, people that you want to have in your network. So you could always be making strategic, game plans and ideas, and then be able to execute them with potentially some VAs for at least the mundane stuff. So this has been an awesome interview, awesome guy. Like I said, like cannot talk to a better guy as far as delegating to virtual assistants and just real estate experience. I'm curious on the personal side, you're about to finish college, 2 classes, I think, short of finishing college. Your father loved this. I love talking, personal, getting to
Yeah.
to know the guests and everything. I'm curious what your opinion is with education for your children, homeschooled versus going in person, and entrepreneurship versus college, which you kind of hit on very
Yeah.
briefly, just with your background of going, pro hockey to entrepreneur, not finishing college, haven't gone back, which I think I can speak for it's worked out pretty darn well for you.
Yeah. That's a really good question. Here's the way I look at it today. So my daughter goes to prep school. She's a freshman. I didn't go to prep school at all. We're fortunate that real estate has given us the opportunity, and obviously our virtual assistant company has given us the opportunity to put our kids through private school or prep school, however you want to call it. The way I look at that side of it, it's more of the network that you are investing in, right? Of
Mm,
course, you know, of course the education's there. Everyone needs a foundation.
Mhm.
But the things I think they learn at our kitchen table when we're sitting around talking with my wife and I about business and how things are working, that's part of their education. And I think, I'm going to have my kids go to college because I think, the network that is there, especially, you look at the younger generation now, when you look at people in prep school right now, it's what their family does that you want to learn from, right? It's like, all right,
Mhm.
they're going here. My daughter's roommate just met, their parents are developers in New York City. I never would have
Nice.
met them. My daughter would never
Yeah.
met them. Like, there's a lot of individuals there that are very, very successful. So I think for me personally, again, education is huge, but I also think that I know if I could take my 17-year-old son with me and learn him sales skills now, he'll be 10 times more successful if he doesn't go to school. However, I'm going to have him go to school because there's a lot of fundamental, you know, things that you learn within school. But I'm
Mhm.
just being straight with it because
No,
I
I
know
hear
what I
you.
didn't learn. I know what I didn't learn at college. Like, I mean, you know,
Yeah, no,
so
I appreciate the personal deep dive and transparency. And I think that you hit it there, that it's good that if you're doing that, but you kind of have the intentions with them that they're going there to kind of network and they can kind of learn from other families,
yeah,
like the developers in New York, which is really cool. And I kind of think the same thing because I went to high school, was like class clown. I was always just more interested in, I didn't realize at the time, but networking with people and really understanding how people click and communicating with
yeah,
people, which has been an invaluable, like I said before the show, 31 now, but that's been an invaluable kind of trait and, successful thing for me. But I do think about if I didn't go 18, play community college soccer for 2 years, then go to University of Maryland, got a communications degree, which I guess I'm using now somewhat, but I always think about what if I just went straight into real estate, like graduating high school 18.
and here's the way I look at it too. Life is short enough. Enjoy it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's no hurry for me. I look at things way different now. I look through the lens of a father, right? Through a
Mm-hmm.
dad. There's no reason to jump into whatever it is soon, right? It's life is too short. So when I look through college, enjoy that college experience because
Mm-hmm.
everything is an experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'll tell you what, the reason why I got to college though is because I didn't go to those parties when I was in high school, or I didn't do this, I didn't do this. So it's delayed gratification from a lot of stuff we do. I mean, look at you, 31, you're successful, right? You look at other individuals that haven't even started their life yet and they're 31. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
different things that you could bob and weave, and there's no right answer and there's no wrong answer. It's only your perception on things, because my perception is
Mm-hmm.
different than yours, and I'm not right. I don't know. I might be right. Who the heck knows, right? So I don't know.
100%, man. Bobbing and weaving through life with Bob Lachance has been an awesome, awesome interview. What's the best place to reach out to you? We have REVA Global in the show notes to
Yep.
check that out, guys. Please take advantage of of consultation. I mean, even if you have VAs in place or any type of systems, processes, delegation, I think it's good. Free consultation. I'm pretty sure. Probably should have confirmed that
Yeah.
before, but
Yeah. Yeah. For
amazing
sure. Yeah.
resource just to amazing resource to talk to on Bob's team. And like I said, a bunch of people have used them that are very happy feedback wise and success wise with them. So what's the best place to follow you in addition to REVA Global online?
Yeah, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram. You could reach me direct. My email is bob@revaglobal.com, REVA global.com. If you have any questions, again, I'm open. Like I said, I have a real estate investment company that we run. We have a virtual assistant company that we run. And I think just one takeaway I just want to give everybody, in any business, I get this question a lot. How are you able to run two companies at once? And the answer I always give, and I think this is really, really important, um, you can't be a social or a solopreneur anymore, right? If you're looking to build anything, you're only as good as your team. And you have to have, I mean, I look at your company, you guys have a fantastic team, right? You're only as good as your team. It's side by side leadership. There's not one person up top. There's not one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there could be one figurehead, but whatever. But if anyone in business really understands, it's everybody else that works with them. Sometimes they're a lot better than the figurehead, that they're talking head up here. So just
Mm-hmm.
realize that we all need help. We all need to delegate things. We all need to outsource things. So for us to get to the level we need to get to, you need a fantastic team with you. And And for us in our real estate business, like I said, we just closed our 110th deal. It's because our virtual assistants all drive that behind the scenes. So I think it's really important. And also our team members, right? Our partners, our high level managers, our executive teams, et cetera.
Love it, man. Great stuff on this interview, guys. Bob's emails in the show notes and the REVA Global site to schedule a consultation, reflect, think what you can outsource, the stuff that doesn't give you energy, and then use that for, creatively, however you want to, whether it's personal stuff, higher leverage, dollar per hour tasks in your business. And have a fantastic rest of the day, guys.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, my pleasure.